Welcome back, everybody. Today we've got something that is actually an interesting review item because I'm going to tell you this is going to be massively dependent on your ability to pick it up in a brick and mortar store, if it is at all a good value for you or not. And that is a Razer Mamba wireless. And as you can see here, it's currently marked, I picked it up at Walmart for $9. You know, even before I get into it and see what's inside here, an $80 mouse that's been priced down to $9 is probably a good deal. That's why I actually bought two of these. So I actually know what's in here because I've been using one. But let's go ahead and just take a look at what's on the package before we get into it. Pretty straightforward. We're claiming it has up to 50 hours of use on a single charge, 1600 DPI optical sensor, 7 programmable buttons, all the things we expect out of a pretty decent gaming mouse. On the bottom, we've got some pretty typical stuff, just warnings, packaging content, requirement that the PC is a USB port. We're claiming that it's Windows 10 compatible, and all that's on the sides is the Razer logo itself. Packaging, pretty straightforward, Razer colors. We've got a Razer Chroma integration logo for it. It is an RGB device. Nice little fabric hang tag. I like that better than the plastic or the paper ones. But overall, just decent, attractive retail packaging. We've got a nice kind of mirrored shimmer effect for where it says Mamba Wireless. Let's go ahead and get inside. So we've got a pretty typical plastic tape type thing over a tab. That opens up. Oh, and then that opens up. And then we can pull the package out that way. Nothing left in there. So we have the mouse itself. Let's take a look at what else we get. So we have a manual, says for gamers by gamers, with a little plastic retention sleeve. That's just wasteful, guys. Unleash your true potential. The getting started thing. Signed by Min Lang Tan, the co-founder and creative director. This is just your typical getting started booklet. We do get some stickers, which are nice if you like to sticker your stuff. Couple of Razer Chroma stickers. Razer logo, Razer nameplate, I guess, and a for gamers by gamers badge. Beyond that, everything in here is pretty straightforward. Talks about where all the buttons are, the sensor. Looks like we get a USB dongle and a cable with a, what do they call it? USB wireless receiver adapter. And that'll make more sense in just a second. How to charge using the USB receiver, turning it on, etc., etc., just normal stuff. I did just see one thing that looked different. So you can program this thing with different profiles based on what you're doing. It is a gaming mouse, so the idea is that you might have one profile with a button set for RPG games, and a different profile with a different button set for first-person shooters with maybe a different sensitivity level versus RTS versus just day-to-day office use, that type of stuff. Supports 4 different profiles. Profile indicator will change its color to show which profile is currently selected. Talks about some of the lighting effects. Most of that's inside the Razer Chroma software. We're not going to get into that a ton here. So we have on this, let's go ahead and see if there's a way to open this without damaging anything. Okay, there we go. So that opens up like that. We get a weird chunky thing, the mouse, and then, as mentioned, the cable. And I like some of what I'm seeing with the cable. They didn't use a zip tie. They used this rubber, snappable, variable strip. So that's a cable management feature, and that's definitely useful. This appears to be a pretty typical micro USB, except for this weird funky end. And what that does, we'll peel the plastic off the bottom of the mouse, is the mouse itself has these little guide slides that the micro USB, when you're charging the mouse, lines up and fits in perfectly, and then you can use this as a wired mouse, which lets them address two different markets with one device. I actually like that particular design thought. It also is how the mouse charges. So, if the battery goes dead in the middle of something, you plug this cable in and you're good to go. Honestly, the only thing I don't like, and this is probably just a symptom of when this was first launched, the date of which I'm drawing a blank and isn't clearly marked in here. I don't suppose there's anything at all that tells me a copyright date or anything like that. Nope. Anyway, so it's micro USB and it's very stiff. That's good and bad. It's not going to come out while you're using it, but it does make it a little harder to plug it in. The cable itself, we get some nice strain relief on both ends, actually. And it's just a braided micro USB cable, pretty typical. Nicer than the rubber ones you'd get, but nothing super special to write home about. I mean, I buy braided micro USB cables, well, here, like I charged my studio monitor with on Amazon, and this just appears to be basically the same quality cable that you'll get, a 5-pack of for 10 or 15 bucks of varying lengths, but it's better than the cheap cables they could have used. Okay, so I said there was this funky thing. Well, this funky thing is an adapter so that you can plug the wireless dongle into the charging cable that you need to have on your desk anyway to charge the mouse, so that I can use this wirelessly, and when when it's dead, I just plug this in. The cable's already there, and I can just set this aside for however long it takes me to charge it. And then once it's fully charged, or I'm done for the day, I come back tomorrow and it's fully charged type thing, I can just plug it right back into the end of this and hopefully not lose any bits and pieces in the process. That's not quite my ideal method of dealing with a wireless rechargeable mouse. But it's not bad either. It allows the mouse to be fully useful during the entire time, and is probably cheaper production-wise than what I would generally have preferred, which is something like Cyborg's older Rat 9 mouse had a hot swappable lithium-ion battery. So you would just slide the one battery out and you would slide the other battery in. Fit and finish-wise, all the buttons feel fine. Now, bear in mind, my comparison points for this Razer Mamba are a Logitech MX Master 2, which is actually a more expensive mouse, a Logitech M310, and then the Cyborg Rat 9, which at this point mine's almost 7 or 8 years old. And finally, that leather-covered mouse that we got to go with the ASIO retro keyboard, the ASIO, classic mouse. So I don't have 12 different gaming mice to compare this to. Honestly, the only one out of that entire list that's a gaming mouse is the Rat 9, and it's a completely different design focused than this. One I actually like better, but we'll get to that in a second. So anyway, none of the buttons feel bad. They're all satisfyingly clicky. I don't feel like any of them are going to fall apart. I don't feel a ton of wiggle in any of it. Overall, it seems well enough designed. What I don't like, and of course my studio surface is just rough enough to not really highlight this, is that this thing only weighs 106 grams. That's light. That's too light for me. And just to double check, they say 106 on their packaging, ounces, kilograms, grams. 105. Okay. That's close enough to 106. I'm going to give it to them. But I'm curious what some of my other mice weigh. So this is a 310. So this is that Logitech MX Master 2S. Mine actually broke, which is a bummer. It doesn't left click anymore. And I don't like that Logitech requires I basically destroy this pad in order to get into the mouse. But we're not going to get too deep into that here. I just want to see how much it weighs. 153 grams. Okay. This is a M310 Sans AA battery. 78 grams. AA probably brings it to... 1 second. Throw in one of my metal hydrides. The M310s I have found are a little light, but not super terrible. 106. Okay. And then my Rat 9. This is apparently covered in old foam. Fully customizable, fully adjustable. You can change all the grips and everything. They just simply don't build them like this. And as you can see, I like a little extra weight. I have almost all the additional weights in there. And that puts it at 185 grams. So this is basically as light as I really have ever wanted a mouse to be, and lighter than that. Because I'll use these at work. I'm not a huge fan of them. But they're just basic office mice. They're not my first choice for anything, really. So that puts me... Oh, you know what? I weighed the Rat 9 without its lithium-ion battery, which puts it now at 198 grams. Almost 200 grams. More than any of the other mice here. And I was comfortable with that. I liked that weight. That was what I wanted my gaming mouse to weigh. Now, that all said, a lot of people really do prefer the ultralight mice. So I'm not going to say that the Mamba Wireless is a good or bad mouse based on that. I'm just going to say it's not my ideal. And ironically, and I think this may come down to the different batteries. I think those metal hydrides might be lighter than the alkaline batteries we have at work. My first impression of this was, my God, this is too light. And I've gotten used to it over time. But it's still not my favorite mouse. I don't think they actually build one like that anymore. But if my biggest complaint is that I think it's too light, that's not the end of the world. I do want to touch on the software. The Razer Chroma software does show up when you plug it in. There's a feature for USB devices where they can contain a small memory partition. I've seen it on a couple of devices like this before, where printers and wireless adapters and dongles will have a basic driver on them, at least enough to get them going, and potentially attempt to load more complex software. So it did detect that Razer Chroma was there, or it did ask me to install Razer Chroma. I don't know if that was prompted by Windows or prompted by the dongle itself. you either like RGB software or you don't. The Razer Chroma, I was particularly displeased to see it ask me to sign in when basically I just want to change the lighting controls. I don't want to sign in to do anything. So that's actually probably my only real comment on that. I don't have any other RGB stuff. It is supposed to sync with my browser's color theme. I didn't really do a whole ton with that. I don't see most of the RGB because my hand is on the mouse while I'm working. And I've used one of these for about a week at this point, and I like it more than the Logitech M310. But I also recognize that I only paid $9 for this mouse. Well, $18. I got two of them. And at that price, who wouldn't? Had I paid the full $80, I probably would have returned this because I wasn't pleased with the weight. And there's no way to add additional weight unless I guess I could, get a piece of steel or something the size of the USB dongle and snap it in here. I could get a lead or steel chunk that size. Not necessarily an ideal way to do that. Not the worst way either. In hindsight, I wish Razer had just given me an extra weight to put in the mouse. Anyway, I've rambled enough. Closing out at $9. I think I checked BrickSeek and it said it was $7 at my local Walmart. If you need a couple of extra mice, if you're in the market for a gaming mouse, and you don't hate Razer or their software, if a light mouse like this appeals to you and you're just curious about it, for under $10, it's a hard thing to pass up. Check BrickSeek, see if your local Walmart or maybe one of the other ones in the area has any stock. $9 is what I paid for this. I think some of them are down to $7. I might actually go pick up a couple more. I know I just said that it wasn't my favorite mouse, but I guarantee the second certain other people in my household see that it can light up and turn pink or blue or green, they're going to try and steal it. So, that's worth something to certain people. All right, that all said, as always, I want to thank Electrix for providing our opening and closing themes. I would like to thank anyone who helps support us, either using our Amazon affiliate links or by supporting us on Patreon, for helping make content like this possible. This is a great example of something that I probably wouldn't have blown $20 on mice I didn't need if I didn't have any extra income coming in for something like that. And as always, for everyone, I would like to thank you for watching.